Google's new OS, Twitter's touchdown, refugees have no electricity, but they do have Wi-Fi. And Iain Thomson is here to talk about whether the NSA got hacked or not and why they use Tumblr. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1577, recorded Monday, August 15th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT.
And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. So whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TNT and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. You're rubbing your hands together as if you've got plans, Jason Howell.
Technology news. Those are my plans.
I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. Sorry, it's Monday. I had to start off strange because what a like standard Monday today has been.
Yes, the standard as they come.
Standard
right?
issue Monday where I got stuck in traffic and I was behind all day. It was just one of those days.
I know. I thought you weren't going to make it. I thought I was going to have to get up and move over a seat and then read your part and then read my part and read your part. And
I would actually love to see that.
Okay,
I think that would be a lot of fun.
Someday.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started. According to a new GitHub project spotted today, Google is creating a new operating system called Fuchsia. It doesn't run on the Linux kernel, as both Android and Chrome OS do. It runs on something called Magenta. It runs Magenta at its core, which experts say might be designed for the Internet of Things. Google hasn't commented, but the code that showed up on GitHub last week originally came from two Google engineers with experience in embedded systems, like possibly Internet of Things kinds of systems, where Linux operating systems sometimes cause other issues. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, apparently, Google team member Travis Geiselbrecht, who has a lot of experience, with Palm and a bunch of kind of mobile OS efforts, says that this is going to be available at some point on the Raspberry Pi 3. I feel like that's a clue. I don't know, kind of the smaller device form factor. I don't know at what point it's available for that or even what it's for. We have absolutely no idea what this is actually for, but we have some clues. Magenta kernels based on Little Kernel Project, which is meant to scale very well. It's kind of good for not only embedded devices, but also smartphones and desktop OS. So that's why some of the rumors are pointing to a possible kind of, future effort on this being a way for Google to merge its OSs into one single offering, possibly. Uses Flutter, which is possibly free UI, which is a project for cross-platform app development. Uses Dart programming language, and that's actually used by Google for really large projects like AdWords, for example. That's the programming language that AdWords runs on. So there's all these kind of different clues here, but we don't really know what it applies to. Like, part of me just kind of believes that Google always has, is always juggling a lot of balls and always kind of coming up with these skunkwork efforts like this. So maybe this is just some random thing that they're working on to see what happens with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've revealed exactly what they want us to know, and nothing more than that, it seems like. Now, would you like a blended Chrome Android?
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, I feel like it's maybe unnecessary right now at this point because Chrome OS runs Android apps, and that's a pretty good combination. Combining it further than that from a usability standpoint, I mean, there's probably reasons why that would be good, and maybe that makes sense long term. Part of this kind of reminds me of what Samsung does with Tizen OS, and it, basically they've moved away from Android Wear, let's say. I think they only did one device with Android Wear for their wearables in support of Tizen, and they've tried Tizen out on the phone as like, and I don't think that plan worked very well. But maybe a different OS that doesn't require the greater Android to do these very specific like IoT sort of things. I could see that. I don't know. I do think in the long run though, Android as a platform has issues that a full, top to bottom rewrite might solve, including things like the update problem where it's really tied to the carrier and Google can do nothing about that. And that's one of the biggest black eyes for Android specifically. So, maybe this is an effort to combine them and solve a lot of the problems that they have learned over the past however many years Android and Chrome OS have existed.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know when though, but I want to know right now. Alphabet has high. Oh, and by the way, this whole top news segment is like 3 companies. There wasn't a whole lot of news outside of this, so we're going to keep this like focused to the biggies in the tech sphere. So get used to some of these names. Alphabet has high hopes for its own brand of high-speed internet in Google Fiber, of course, but apparently the company is getting creative with how it can spread its web access to more places in the U.S. Turns out all of that infrastructure build out is expensive, very expensive, even for a company like Alphabet. Now they're focusing on wireless technology for connecting homes as opposed to the hardwired cables that they currently utilize. That would help stave off the need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars digging up streets to lay those cables in order to get new locations hooked up. And I think kind of core to this is a recent acquisition. What was the company that Google Fiber just picked up?
WebPass.
WebPass Inc., and I think they just acquired them last month, which is all built around beaming internet from the fiber to an antenna in an apartment building to be distributed or whatever. And I think just from an infrastructure standpoint, that's, that this is a big part of kind of Google Alphabet's future plans for fiber is, man, it costs a lot of money to dig this all up and make the deals to rent the fiber and all this kind of stuff. Why not just beam it to the house instead?
Yeah, it sounds like this project was really started in a time when wireless was not as fast.
Right.
As wired. And now we're really not in that time anymore. And not only is it hard to dig up the roads and build that infrastructure, they were dealing with ISPs directly. And basically those ISPs had to agree to the end of them, just like, yes, we would agree for you to put in this system, which is cheaper and way better than what we have held a stranglehold on for so long. So yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, I guess some projects are now being put on hold, and then the big cities are getting the wireless, like LA, Chicago, Dallas. They're the ones that are going to get the wireless, where fiber was not necessarily in those big cities. It was giving everyone else some high speeds.
I mean, if there's still the promise of the high speed of fiber, then I don't think it really matters to the consumer. It's also, a big part of what a lot of efforts that Alphabet and Google have rolled out in the past is reprogramming the industry that it comes into. And I mean, that's already kind of proven itself to some degree. The markets where fiber exists, the competitors, AT&T, Comcast, Time Warner Cable, have all kind of adjusted their plans, increased speeds, adjusted their prices in order to compete. So to that degree, the effort is working out well. I just want to see it rolled out to more places. And if this means that that's actually possible, then I say go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was ironic because it was like, here were these crazy fast speeds, but it was taking an annoyingly slow time to get them, you know? So
I didn't realize that fiber's been out for, 7 years now? Like it's a 7-year-old effort. I feel like it was just yesterday.
But nothing's happened. Only one market per year. I mean, it seems like
super
forever,
slow.
So.
For sure.
Well, part of the news of Apple earnings a few weeks ago was that overall demand for iPads was down, but demand for iPads in government and the enterprise had gone up. And today, well-known Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo told Mac Rumors that there are more iPads coming in the next fiscal year and a complete redesign of the iPad in fiscal year 2018. Now, the fiscal year for Apple starts at the end of September, so fiscal 2017 is coming up. The rumors are a 12.5-inch iPad Pro 2, a new size 10.5-inch iPad Pro, and a less expensive 9.7-inch iPad that's not a Pro. The 10.5-inch iPad Pro is intended for educational, government, and commercial market.
And is that because the 12.5 is just gargantuan for students, for example?
Probably, and the cost is probably too high, maybe. But yeah, a little bit too big. I mean, the bigger one is even a little bit too big for me. Like I like it, but I prefer the 9.7-inch iPad. So Yeah, these are coming up. So I guess they might be announced on the rumored September 7th. And originally when I was talking about this with Leo on iOS Today, I thought, oh, well, 2017, we still have to wait until then. But, the chat room pointed out that's fiscal 2017, so that's not far away. And fiscal 2018, they think that they'll have a flexible AMOLED iPad. So I don't know, like you could wear it as a hat.
Oh, yeah. You could
scarf.
crumple it up like a newspaper and swat a fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably exactly what they want you to do with the new iPad is swat flies with it on the table. That seems really kind of fishy to me. What do you think?
I think it sounds fishy. I mean, Quo, the analyst, is usually right, but has been wrong in the past. So who knows? I mean, he also predicted that we would be charging, wirelessly charging our iPhones, like just charging them through the air, which I don't think that's happening.
Who knows? Still hasn't happened.
Right. He said 2017. So I don't know.
He's also the one, I believe, that had the information on the MacBook Pro refresh with the OLED strip, function strip up at the top. And that we might actually find out in a matter of weeks. Whether that's true or not. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of people, just reading comments online, people are like, okay, great, more iPads. I really just want a MacBook. I want, a refreshed MacBook, which we talked about last week, has been a long time coming.
Would you look at that? Twitter shares are on the rise today, up almost 7% on news surrounding its deal with the NFL to stream Thursday night games starting next month. We already knew about that. But specifically right now, according to the Times, Twitter's currently in talks with Apple to bring its app to the Apple TV, which could be a big deal when it comes to bringing its many Twitter-infused TV offerings, like the NFL deal, to wider visibility, also reaching just a wider range of people for Twitter as a service in general. Although, I wonder if this would be targeted only to Twitter users or if it would be the kind of thing that you could passively drop into like you can on the website version. You don't actually have to be logged in order to view it. But this seems like a good deal all around. What do you think?
I think it sounds like a great deal. I don't know if I believe it. I mean, I am a big fan of Mike Isaac in the New York Times. This was one of his sources says, but it just seems like, because this is the holy grail to be able to, I don't like football, but for many to be a cord cutter and watch live football is amazing for many, not me. But many. Maybe for you. Do you like football?
I would absolutely love that.
You're a man. You must like football, right?
Yeah, totally.
So to be able to watch that on the Apple TV sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But, Apple, it's been very difficult for them to get any live TV, to get around the cable companies to be able to show stuff. So this would be wonderful. I mean, obviously people think it's great because, Twitter stock is up, just hearing about it. So, yeah, I think this would be great for Apple. It would be great for Twitter, but I don't know why NFL. I don't know what's in for them, like what they're getting out of it.
Yeah, I guess that depends on the deal that they have with Twitter.
A lot of money, I hope, because there's a lot of people that really say I would cut the cord, but I can't watch my football. So
but this is one game. And
it's Thursday night. I guess
Thursday night game. It's a single game on Thursday nights. Whoa! Thank you, Brian, for that. I feel like our show is way less intense in comparison.
It's his birthday. He can do whatever.
That's right. Happy birthday, by the way, Brian. That field goal is for you. I don't know. I mean, it's a single game, Thursday night game. In my own personal opinion, as a football fan, have always kind of been week matchups, but that's kind of changed over the years. To have any game is better than none, and I think Apple would love to be able to say that you can now get NFL games on the Apple TV, especially considering their own plans for live TV. Didn't pan out so hot according to reports. So getting that on in any sort of way, that gives them an advertising opportunity, and I think it's also really good outside of Apple TV. Kind of interesting at the hint of the possibility that just Twitter apps in general will be able to do this. I don't know if we knew that before, but or if it was just going to be locked into the website. I hope that we can get this on Android TV, even though no one has Android TV. But I wish that I could get it on my app, on my phone in the Twitter app as well. So maybe that hints to that.
Well, speaking of Twitter, it was inevitable. Advertising on Twitter now extends to those stickers that we just got to be able to put on our photos. According to Adweek, Twitter's advertisers can now create their own stickers so that when you're adding bling to your photos that you post on Twitter, you can also help companies advertise by using what Twitter's calling the promoted sticker. brands can design 4 to 8 stickers. And since photos with a brand stickers are shared with all of a user's followers, Twitter says this allows brands to be featured by their fans in a, quote, truly authentic way. Okay. I tried this today. I tweeted, maybe Brian can pull up the tweet, because I'm giving up all soda. And so I tweeted about that, about giving up soda, about how soda was bad for you. I added all kinds of Pepsi stickers.
Oh, yeah.
So I stole their, just like people can steal hashtags, you can apparently steal stickers. Because, of course, when you click on the stickers, it's like a hashtag and it goes to all those other posts. So.
Oh, boy. Okay, this is exciting stuff. This is really, these stickers have me so excited. It's basically, it's like Snapchat sponsored filter, but with stickers.
Basically.
Yet it feels so like maybe this was an idea for 2 years ago, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in the world of sponsored things, social network has a sponsored technology thing that you can interact with. Stickers feels a couple of years old at this point versus kind of the cool things that you can do with filters. I don't like who's gonna do that?
I think it's a home run.
Yeah. Thank you for following along with this football tangent that we're on with the home run. I don't know. It just seems it's super cheesy.
I think so too. I mean, we are ad supported. I'm about to read an ad. I'm telling him about to read an ad.
Right.
But don't co-op my stickers. Come on.
I mean, go ahead and offer sponsored stickers. That's quite all right. Just no one's going to use them. That's the thing. And I mean, Twitter, this isn't their first time. They rolled out sponsored emoji in 2015, last year.
Oh.
Apparently. See, that's what I mean, right? Like, they did this, but you never see it. So there you go.
Yeah, I remember that vaguely. Well, after the break, obviously food, water, and housing come before tech, but increasingly we live in a world where you depend on tech for these basic needs. After the break, we'll talk to CNET reporter about how refugees in Greece are dealing with this problem. But first, let's take a minute to thank Epson, the sponsor of this episode. Epson's revolutionary cartridge-free EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. It features an amazing, innovative, refillable ink tank, earning it the title of CES 2016 Innovation Awards honoree. No more out-of-ink frustration. It includes up to 2 years of ink, equal to 11,000 black pages or 8,500 color pages. You can save up to 80% on ink with low-cost replacement bottles, and it's powered by precision core printing technology. It has auto two-sided printing and a 30-page auto document feeder, easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones, and all EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value. With Epson's EcoTank line of printers, you'll have the freedom to print without running out of ink. The Epson EcoTank system was named the 2016 Small Biz Windows Printer of the Year. Visit Epson.com/EcoTank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the Epson EcoTank printers. That's EPSON.com/EcoTank. And we thank Epson for their support.
All right, so every year, CNET has a tradition of spending a month out of the summer devoted to what they call a road trip. It's an exploration of technology outside the confines of Silicon Valley and the traditional technological institutions that we always cover regularly on this show and that CNET covers on their site. Rochelle Garner is one of the editors of an important story with that series, part of this year's road trip, and she joins us now. Welcome, Rochelle.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you here. So obviously, this is a pretty important topic here. Tell us a little bit about the scene in Greece and why your team traveled there for this piece.
Sure. Well, first off, Greece is just the kickoff story that we have for a whole summer-long project. Starts with Greece. We've already run a few stories on France, and soon we're also going to be including stories from the Nordic countries, Finland and Sweden, Germany and Hungary, and also what's happening here in the United States. So it really is a month-long project that started with Greece. And the whole idea from our editor-in-chief was to find out, with tech really permeating everything that we do in our lives, is it helping, and how is it helping the refugee crisis in Europe, if it is at all? And that's especially important right now because we've seen more numbers have just come out. There are many more people who are stranded in Europe seeking asylum, and also some of the conditions that are being reported are less than humane. So we've really been exploring how tech is affecting both how people see the asylum seekers around them and how it's helping the asylum seekers themselves. You're showing us some images from Greece. That is These are tent encampments, impromptu tent encampments of thousands of people, sort of like popping up. This is in the middle of the Puerto Pareos that you're showing right now. About 5 weeks after our reporters left, the Greek government evicted everybody.
Wow. Wow, that's insane. So what exactly are the opportunities that are to be found for refugees using this kind of technology? What can they find?
It really depends on the country. Greece, as you probably know, is really hard hit economically, and it is having a great deal of difficulty even trying to process these people. What happened in Greece is that all of the borders shut down, and so 57,000 people are stranded, literally stranded in Greece. And Greece, the government is really struggling to process people. So that's why you see these tent cities pop up in places like a shut down international airport. At the same time, anarchists are using WhatsApp and Facebook and underground websites to basically take over unused and abandoned buildings and put refugees up in those. And they're completely illegal, but in many cases, they're better humane conditions than what they can get from official government camps.
And how was it in France? What was the experience there?
Not so pleasant, actually. It turns out that one of the biggest camps there is called the Jungle. It's all men. They wouldn't have any children or women in that. It's really quite shy of horrific, but that might not be overstating it that much. And the one thing that's helping in that particular camp is there is a Wi-Fi bus. These people need access to the internet because that is their only connection to people back home to try to find out how to get to where they want to go. In France, they don't want to stay there. Many of them want to move on to the UK. And this is their attempt to try to find out what's going on, how to get there. By the way, the government is shut down. There's no electricity. They shut everything down. And so everything is really kind of black market. The only way you can charge your phones is with generators, private generators.
Wow.
So they have They have no electricity, but they have Wi-Fi.
Correct, because Wi-Fi in many cases is maybe more important than electricity, at least pervasive electricity, because this is how they find out what's going on, how to connect with people. It is their only connection to those that they love.
Wow, that's incredible. So back in 2011, the UN made a claim that internet access is a human right, and I know that's come up on this network plenty of times. Do you kind of see this scenario as an example that kind of proves that theory?
It does seem that way. Hearing some examples, for example, of France as a case in point, but they absolutely are dependent on Wi-Fi. Some of our reporters are still coming back. They've just returned from Germany and from Hungary and from Serbia. And they're finding, too, it's the only way that people can find out, can they get asylum? This is the point of asylum seekers is the opportunity to live legally somewhere in the EU. And without internet access, without the apps that are working, they're stuck. They can't go any further. If you look at it that way, that is truly a basic human right.
Are there any ways that the promise of technology has failed people in these scenarios?
So far, our reporters are showing that it has failed in Greece. Again, as I mentioned, the government has some economic difficulties. They're on the verge of economic collapse. They had attempted to use Skype as a way to register asylum seekers. It became a thing where you had to register through Skype. But the internet doesn't work in most places. And so refugees would find themselves trying to have to call Skype over and over. They have no internet minutes. It costs them €5 a day to try to get internet minutes, which might not sound like much, but it is if you're really living hand to mouth.
For sure.
And they might make 20, 30 phone calls, and it didn't get through. So there was a failure there.
Mm-hmm. So someone in our chat room is asking how is there Wi-Fi with no electricity? I think you mentioned the Wi-Fi buses. Is that mostly how they were getting Wi-Fi?
That's exactly it. They are able to, like, as I said, private generators, I think they pay something like €4 for the right to be able to charge their phones a day. Not exactly inexpensive. So that's how they can charge their phones, but all internet access comes from that bus that's parked outside the camp.
Wow. So obviously you've got a lot more coverage kind of posting throughout the month, I imagine, right? Through the end of August?
Yes, and probably somewhat into September as well. We're kind of anticipating maybe 50 stories coming out of this package.
Wow, that's incredible. This whole series. I mean, I used to work at CNET years ago. I remember Daniel Turneman when he was with CNET. He used to go out every summer on the road trip, and it was always a fascinating journey to kind of follow along and see throughout the course of travels through just the United States. The stories that were dug up, and now it really seems like you're taking this to the next level and making it kind of a global effort. It's very, very impressive.
We want to show that journalism matters, whether it happens to be from the general press or for the tech press. We think we're doing a good job of it.
Yeah, excellent. CNET.com/road-trip. I don't know if road trip works, but road-trip to go directly there.
Yes, that's right. CNET.com/road-trip.
Excellent. Rochelle, Garner, really appreciate you coming on today and telling us all about this. And we hope that a lot of the fans of the show will rush on over and read your stuff.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
And we should also put a link to the Columbia Journalism Review did a piece if you're interested in just the idea of the press part of this, the journalistic aspect of this. They really covered all the work that CNET's done on this. So we can put a link to that in our show notes as well.
Cool.
Now we have some feedback from Larry F. Martinez. He's a professor at CSU Long Beach. He wrote about our interview about amateur astronomy with Elizabeth Howell last week. He writes that social networking among backyard astronomers existed long before Reddit. He says information technologies have long played a role promoting partnerships between the professional astronomers and the amateur backyard stargazers. As a teenage ham radio operator during the Apollo missions to the moon, I used to listen to amateur astronomers who were asked by NASA to monitor their moon for interesting phenomenon that they could then direct the astronauts' attention to while they were orbiting or walking on the moon. The backyard astronomers were communicating amongst themselves on the 80-meter ham band each evening during a mission, very similar to the internet chat services used today. It was thrilling for me to listen into their observations of craters on the moon and how their observations were being used by NASA to further lunar research by our astronauts in situ. So thanks for writing us. You can email me, Megan, at twit.tv or TNT at twit.tv if you have any feedback on anything that we've talked about.
I haven't bought a telescope yet, but I will someday, and I'll become an amateur astronomer. I'm going to do it. Up next, Iain Thomson joins us to take a closer look at a group that claims it's hacking the NSA. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They're the sponsor of this episode. If you have gone through the mortgage process, I know I have, and it's awesome to wake up every day and be living in our own house. But getting there, going through the steps of the mortgage, filing through all that paperwork, going through your filing cabinet to try and find the right information in order to fill it out, it's not the best experience in the world. Well, Rocket Mortgage is going to help you make that process more seamless. It brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. You hate stacking, searching through those stacks of old files and old paperwork, all that kind of stuff. And that's what this is all about. That's what Rocket Mortgage is here for. With Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements, your pay stubs, all at the touch of a button. And that's going to get you approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And even better, beyond that, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or your tablet. It's a quick online process. It's going to help you manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, you want to check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
At this point, it's best just to assume that the NSA is spying on us, and we'll never know if they really are or not. But today, a group calling themselves the Shadow Brokers has announced that they've hacked the NSA, and they've put up some files up for auction to prove it. Are they for real, or is this a scam? Here to help answer this question is our resident security expert, Iain Thomson. Welcome, Iain.
Hi, Megan. Pleasure as always.
So the Shadow Brokers claim that they've been monitoring the servers of the Equation Group. Let's start there. What is the Equation Group?
Well, the Equation Group was a hacking group provision that was linked to NSA operations by the security firm Kaspersky Lab. Now, they based that on both the sophistication of the malware that the Equation Group are using, but also on the types of targets they picked, predominantly in Russia, China, fair few in the UK, but friends always spy on each other after all. But it was predominantly against people who you would think were adversaries to the NSA. They were using a very highly sophisticated malware toolkit with various different modules that could be plugged on and played in as and when needed. Now, Kaspersky said that while it could never be definitively guaranteed, it was highly suggested that the Equation Group was operating, if not in cahoots with the NSA, but with a certain kind of linkage between the two, much as there seems to be with Gukova 2 and the Russian government at the moment.
So now what do the shadow brokers claim to have stolen from the Equation Group?
Well, they claim to have stolen the exploit list and a bunch of exploit tools that the Equation Group have been using over the years. They say basically they've been monitoring Equation Group's communications channels, and from this they found ways to break into its server, and they collected all this lovely goodies, which is, there's a fair old list of exploits in there from what we can gather at the moment. There's some very badly written Python code. And there's, there's stuff in there which we know are exploits, some stuff which does link, which shares a name with some of the exploits that were listed in the NSA's Tailored Access Operations Hacking Squad catalog, where they listed all the things that they could do in the event of, getting lawful warrants to do it or whatever. There are linkages between what was released today or what was uploaded today and what we know of some of the NSA's exploit tools. And there do seem to be some legitimate vulnerabilities in there, but they're ones which have been reported already. So it's kind of a mixed bag at the moment.
How or what do we know specifically about the Equation Group other than their affinity for math?
Well, they seem to have been active since at least 2013, possibly earlier. Basically, they are using, if you look at the you can tell an awful lot about a hacking group by the types of tools they use. The vast majority are either using off-the-shelf exploit generation kits, more advanced ones, the generation kits which come with malware as a service, whereby if their malware that it creates gets kicked back, then they get a free go. Equation Group was rather different. Basically, you had a centralized structure with various different modules that could be used to attack different components within a computer operating system or the applications which it used. So it was much more sophisticated than we'd seen in the past, and very reminiscent of state-sanctioned hacking groups that we've seen emanating from China and Russia and elsewhere. So it was a cut above the rest when it came to their hacking technology. Their targets were also kind of interesting, as I say, in that there were people who the NSA might want to have a look at. Yes, I mean, if you look at that, mainly it's Russia, China, India. UK gets in there a lot because the NSA don't trust us. But, a lot of people who you'd think the NSA would like to look at, and very few attempts to get into US servers. And virtually none to get into people like Canada and Australia and other sort of Five Eyes nations. So they were basing it on the sophistication of the software, the choice of targets, and then a rather nebulous term that Kaspersky have off the record, which is sort of like, well, we felt it was them. Now, bear in mind, there have been accusations that Kaspersky has very close ties with the Russian government. It's in their interest to spread rumors about the NSA's activities, just as in the interest of certain Western security companies who are sponsored by the US government or their people to actually, cast aspersions about other groups. So there's an enormous political bitch fight going on here, and a lot of mud being thrown around, and inevitably some is going to slap onto the wrong people and stick. So there's an awful lot of supposition in what's going on here. Sorry.
Do we know anything about the Shadow Group? I mean, have we heard of them before? Is it possible, do you think, that they had the ability to hack the NSA or the Equation Group?
It's possible. I mean, if 20 years covering computer security industries told me anything, it's that it's always possible to get in somewhere. All it takes is one person pressing the wrong button or making a slight mistake, and you can get in there. So, I mean, this is what intelligence agencies around the world have lived with. Now, when it comes to this particular group themselves, this is one of the things that makes me rather suspicious. First off, we haven't heard from them before. That in itself is not unusual because these groups tend to be loose collectives that make up a new name on the spur of a hat whenever they're doing a particular campaign. Looking at their Twitter account, very little activity there at all. The first they've come on in the last 24 hours, and their sole tweets were to media organizations, not to the hacking community or anything like that, but going straight to the press saying, look, we've uploaded all these tools and they're from the NSA and you can report us on that. And then their Tumblr page, which is now missing or has been taken down, which contained a very badly English word rant, explaining in bad English how they got it by monitoring communications channels and why they were doing this auction and the terms and conditions of the auction, which were very, very odd as well. Basically, they were saying, we're holding an auction to an unspecified period of time, make your bids in Bitcoins. If we get to 1 million Bitcoins, then we'll release all the data anyway free of charge. So why anyone would want to pay them 1 million Bitcoins for that is, somewhat up in question. This whole thing, I have to say, does make me rather nervous. In that it seems to be organized in a very media-hungry and slapdash manner. Certainly a preliminary look at the code hasn't revealed anything that has, people going, oh my goodness, this must be from them. And indeed, one of the German CERT guys, Computer Emergency Response Teams, has actually done a fairly detailed look through, and he's saying that basically this looks like a bunch of recycled stuff. They obviously put a lot of work into it, but it does seem to be an awful lot of recycled and renamed material, and not a lot actually, and not things that we would expect to see in there that are new. So, based on that, if you want as a betting man and my personal view, I think it's bollocks, it's scammers. But if you think, there is always the possibility that I am wrong because I haven't gone through the code line by line, and that this will need some fairly deep investigation. But what does make me suspicious is that certainly in the last couple of months, we've had a number of people offering money or offering data, online for Bitcoins, and 9 times out of 10, it turns out to be rubbish. So I do think there's a bunch of scammers out there who are looking to get rich quick off selling junk data and think this is the way to do it.
Do a lot of hackers, in your experience, use Tumblr as a platform?
Well, oddly enough, the NSA uses it. The Director of National Intelligence, who hands out news on the NSA, has his own Tumblr blog, and that's the official channel for getting it through. Yeah, you could be really proud of those defense dollars. It's obviously doing an awful lot of good for you, So yeah, Tumblr. Okay, it's a slightly odd choice, but there have been more odd choices. It could have been worse. It could have been Etsy, and they'd be releasing this with little sparkles around it and seashells of pasta put into the outside of it. But no, as I say, it raised a couple of red flags in my head. There we see. This is we give billions each year to the NSA, and they go to Tumblr when it comes to telling us their stuff. It's just so much fun.
They really should be using Snapchat at this point, don't you think?
Get down with the kids, for goodness sake. An Instagram account at the very least. But no, it's...
How close are they to the Bitcoin demands that they were making?
The last time I checked, which was a couple of hours ago, they're up to about 0.03 Bitcoins, which is about $21. I don't get the feeling that many other people are buying this as well. As it turns out, the code's been taken down from a lot of sites. Their Tumblr page has been taken down. I suspect strongly this will be seen as a hoax. And I don't honestly think there's going to be that many people willing to lash out $1 million in Bitcoin and then just give the data to everyone on a gross basis. So it's a Monday morning. Everyone was desperate for news, and then once one person starts covering it, we all start digging into it. You've got a choice: do you ignore something like this, or do you actually go speak to some people, try and find out what's going on, and then make a measured judgment? I've spoken to Kaspersky, who are the experts in the Equation Group. They say they're going through it and they don't want to say anything until they're absolutely sure. I've spoken to a couple of people off the record from different companies, and I'm largely getting the same thing from them, which is this is almost certainly a scam. But almost certainly no one's actually going to go and say, no, it's definitely not, because you've got an awful amount of code to go through before you can actually say that.
So, but you're saying don't spend your Bitcoin on this yet.
No, there are far, far better things and far worse things to spend your Bitcoin on, for that matter. But there are plenty of things to spend Bitcoin on, and I don't think this should be one of them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Iain. Iain Thomson is a reporter at the Register at Iain Thomson on Twitter. Thanks so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, Iain. All right, TNT's fan of the day is Benjamin Hobb, who sent us this picture on Google Plus saying, I watch TNT every morning at work before my day begins, before my day working on cars begins. This is my setup. We're sandwiched in the toolbox, which I don't know if just didn't think that TNT would ever appear inside of a toolbox. But there you go. This is from April. Yes, it's one of the backlog that I found. So I hope you're still watching TNT on that awesome little screen in there. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. You know, we got to get some newer ones in there to mix in with the older ones. So do that, please.
After the break, a new study says robot cash registers are making us steal stuff, something like that. But first, let's take a minute to thank Wealthfront, the sponsor of this episode. You invest for the long term for you or your family's financial health, but trying to do it yourself, especially the right way, is complex and time-consuming. Luckily, there is Wealthfront. Traditional advisors charge huge fees, between 1% and 3% of what they manage. But with Wealthfront, you pay 1/4% a year. That's 25 basis points, 0 commissions, and no hidden fees. That's less than $5 a month to invest a $30,000 account. There are no additional charges for any of Wealthfront's services. With Wealthfront's new portfolio review, you can see if your portfolio is at risk, how diversified your investments are, what you're losing to fees. You can even minimize your taxes. And who does not want to do that? You can get started investing today with as little as $500. It only takes a few minutes to sign up. It goes right to work monitoring your portfolios around the clock, taking action as soon as an opportunity arises. Wealthfront is transparent and accessible. You can view and track all your accounts in one place. Wealthfront can track both your Wealthfront and your non-Wealthfront bank and brokerage accounts that they will provide in a summary of all your assets. You can also see every trade that Wealthfront makes on your behalf in your dashboard, on your desktop, or with their mobile app. Wealthfront's process is based on Nobel Prize-winning academic research and the best investment practices. Now, we've heard from many Twit fans who have used Wealthfront and love how they can diversify their portfolios and buy stocks from in-demand companies like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, all commission-free. Wealthfront recently introduced their 529 college saving plans, allowing you to invest after-tax dollars, much like a Roth IRA, and save for your child or grandchild's higher education expenses. Wealthfront manages almost $3 billion in client assets, and it's growing rapidly every day. What are you waiting for? Invest in your future today with Wealthfront. Visit wealthfront.com/TNT and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. You'll see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge for life. Join the many Twit fans who have seen huge success with Wealthfront and claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TNT.
All right, first, the grocery stores put you to work when they introduced self-service checkout aisles with terminals for you to ring up and bag your own groceries. Then, a study published today says that some of you who might not normally be inclined to shoplift actually did so while using those terminals. The report says that the lack of human intervention actually lowers the perception of risk, making shoplifting a bit easier for someone to rationalize because they're just right there doing all the work and the things there, and it's like, put the thing in the bag and yeah, whatever. Study shows that the technology generated a loss rate of almost 4% based on, 6 million items checked. 850,000 items were not scanned. So that basically means 4% loss rate to a 3% profit margin. So it's a non-profit thing having one of these in the grocery store. Yet it's the future.
I hate these things. I never use them. I love chatting with the people as I'm checking out. First of all, it's not faster. It's one of the only instances where technology makes things slower. It's always like, oh, well, if you're going to buy alcohol and you need to show your ID, you can't go there. If you're, if you have a coupon, if you are getting a coupon, it's like I never wait in them. And then sometimes even I think at Target, they have a person now standing there watching, and it's like, why don't you just help me? Like, you're getting paid anyway.
Well, yeah, and that's actually part of they point that out, right? There's usually like, Safeway, for example, they have a whole bunch of them. They have like 14 or 16 of them or whatever, and one person monitoring it. And they say that part of these numbers are due to the fact that, it's like one person just trying to keep track of so many different terminals to make sure everybody's actually being honest with what they're checking and everything. I mean, the stores still have, at least, like Target and Safeway are the two that I think of here in Petaluma that I see regularly. And the stores still have their little alarm that sounds when you leave the store. But I guess in some places they don't. And it's literally the honor system.
Well, they don't have alarms on like all the peaches and stuff, do they?
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, not that I've ever tried to
They should be
peach in there.
They should be inserting RFID tags inside the peaches that we buy at the grocery store. That's
They absolutely should. But I get it. Like, I definitely think about that. I don't shoplift from the grocery store. But you think about that, you're like, I could totally shoplift. It's like this psychological thing where, because no one's watching you, I get it.
It lowers the barrier.
Yeah.
The barrier of difficulty. Yeah. But anyways.
Do you remember when it used to be like the cash only lines? I don't think they have that anymore, but I thought about that because it's like cash takes so much time. Like cash used to be the easy thing to do because I guess it was like checks. But yeah, they don't have cash only lines.
I don't know. These actually are a little bit quicker if all of the actual teller, lines have, are one or two people deep. And if I've got 2 or 3 things, then I might still go through one of these, but I still hate it. Like, I don't know. You're right. It seems like it's going to be way more convenient than it actually ends up being.
I think so. No more technology in the grocery store anyway.
Yeah,
Let's
bad
just get rid of
idea,
it.
even though this is like the future of grocery stores. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us. Do that, please. TNT@twit.tv. We read every email that you guys send in. We're happy to put them in the show. Leave us also a short voicemail if you like, 260-TNT-SHOW. You can find the show on Twitter. We are at Tech News Today TV.
We would love it if you would subscribe to the show. Would you do that for us? Find all the ways at
We're asking a
twit.tv.
lot here. We're asking a lot of you, I realize, but just do that.
Yeah, do it. What's stopping you? Go now. Go right now. twit.tv/TNT. And then tweet at me to tell me that you subscribed at Megan Morrone.
And I want to know, too, so tweet at me. I'm at Jason Howell. You might also tweet the birthday boy, Brian Burnett, at Cranky Hippo on Twitter. And let him know.
Guys.
Include him in on the fun. Maybe also his brother, Greg Burnett, who I don't know your Twitter handle. Oh, my
Greg.
goodness. And I think I offended him. But at least I didn't call him Romeo. So there's that.
It's Greg Burnett. At Greg Burnett. With an A instead of an E. Even though that's not the way he spells
There
his
we
name.
go. Good.
GG's.
Thanks to you for talking tech with us. And I think that's it. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.